whether any of us in this room consider ourselves drummers, per se, each and every single one of us, no matter what other things we do or pursue, are rhythmicists. Even you, Mr. CFO, astrophysicist, ultramarathoner. From the beating of your heart to the changing of the seasons, the clothes bouncing around in the drying machine, your fingers typing on the computer keyboard, each and every single one of us are experiencing, participating in, and contributing to the rhythms in our environments and even in the interactions that we have with others. A drummer and his or her role on stage with a band is really no different than the roles that any of us play in the teams that we're a part of at work or at home. We all need to learn how to subdivide, prioritize, and manage small and large increments of time. We all need to learn how to build and maintain relationships, use our creativity, and handle conflict. I've had a natural inclination most of my life to repurpose things. When I see someone doing something that I find very fascinating, very cool, I always think, how could a drummer apply that? And that's how I've come up with a bunch of my most original ideas, by stealing them from other people. But I've also found over the years that there are many drum lessons that I've gotten from some incredible percussionists that have been just as valuable to me in day-to-day life as in my musical life. And what I would like to do today is share with you all 4 drum lessons that we rhythmicists could perhaps apply in other areas. And like any good musician, I brought notes, so I have them here. Lesson number 1. When I was 16, I went to a little music school in Minneapolis to study with a variety of incredible teachers, one of whom was Gordy Knutson, who plays for the Steve Miller Band, and I took a lot of lessons from him, but one was to have big ears. And in a musical sense, that means when you're playing with a band, don't think about what you're doing. Don't think about the cool lick or the cool, little signature rhythm you're going to put in everything. Step back and pay attention to what part you are of the bigger picture. One thing I find incredible about everyone you've seen on this stage today is that they all have big ears. Every one of them understands their role in their societies, in the world, and that's why they're so impactful. That's what makes everyone up here so extraordinary. And in day-to-day life, that is very important, to have big ears, listen, and understand what part you have in the synergy being created in the projects and workplaces that we're all in. Lesson number 2 also comes from Gordy, and that lesson is be the weak link. And one thing that Gordy often stressed was putting yourself in a context where you're surrounded by people who challenge you. And I'm a firm believer of a couple of things. First of all, that each of us kind of are an average of the 5 people we spend most of our time with. And also that the path of least resistance is the path of least growth. And surrounding yourself with people who are challenging you, who are maybe doing something that you want to do, is the best way to grow. Because you're not going to do that if you're surrounding yourself with people who already completely believe and are doing the things that you want to do. And I've found that being that weak link in a musical sense has made me grow, and trying to put myself in a position to be the weak link socially and professionally as well is those are the times that I grow the most. Lesson number 3 comes from an incredible guy by the name of Bob Moses, who I traveled across country to New England Conservatory in Boston to study with several years back. And Bob Moses also goes by the name Rakalam, which was given to him by his spiritual guide, and which means the inaudible sound of the invisible sun. Bob is far more right-brained than I've ever been, which is why I sought him out. And in our 3-hour lesson that we probably sat on the drum set for about 15 minutes. He had me dancing around the room and vocalizing things, all these things that no one had ever made me do because I'm a drummer, man. I want to sit and play drums. But one of the most impactful experiences I had with him was him asking me to play a solo. He sat down at the piano and explained to me that I would sit at the drum set and play along with him. And at some point in the song we were going to play, he would stop and let me solo. And then he would come back in, we'd resume the song and end. So that's exactly what we did. Bob's sitting on the piano playing with 2 fingers, almost like a vibraphone player, plunking away, a little improvised jazz song, and I'm playing my little swing beat, and at some point he stops and turns and looks at me. And I pull every trick in my bag that I've got out and throw it on the drum set, the kitchen sink, everything I've got. And I had to impress, it was Bob Moses. This was my one opportunity. He comes back in, and we resume the song, and we finish, and Bob stops, leans over on the piano, and says, you had a lot of really great ideas. You didn't commit to one of them. And what he went on to explain was that with all of the little motifs that I'd played in my solo, I could have built 50 fantastic solos. If I would have committed to one of those tiny ideas and expanded on it, milked it for everything it was worth, and see where it could take me. And that's what we spent much of the rest of the lesson doing. Actually, he immediately followed that up with a demonstration by walking over to the drum set and from the wrong side of the drum set, grabbing my sticks, hitting the high tom rim, kicking the bass drum head and the heating unit on the wall, and took one of my little motifs and built it into the most incredible solo right in front of my eyes. And I found that that's one thing I often fail to do in day-to-day life as well, is take one of these millions of great ideas that I think I have, commit to it, and develop it, and see where it can go. Lesson number 4 comes from jazz drumming legend Art Blakey, who's quoted as having said, "I am the instrument." And what that means to Art Blakey is that no matter what tools he's given, no matter what drum set he is given, he's going to sound like Art Blakey. And that was something that took me a long time to understand until I started traveling with a band where I was performing on the kit du jour. One night I'd play on an instrument that was absolutely incredible, more expensive than anything I could ever afford. And the next night I had the biggest piece of crap local rental kit without a drum throne. And I quickly realized that I couldn't complain. I had to suck it up and go out on stage. The show must go on. People that are showing up are expecting to see the same show that they would see on any other night. They're not understanding what limitations I might have. And what I found is no matter what, I am going to sound like me. And in day-to-day life, I think that's something that we all need to remember, is that we are the instrument. And that no matter what, if you have the conviction, no matter what financial or personnel resources you may or may not have, every one of us is capable of being who we're going to be and accomplishing what we desire to. We've seen examples of that, of people with supposed limitations overcoming those. And I think if we each embrace our inner rhythmicist and take note of those 4 lessons, have big ears, put ourselves in positions to be the weak link once in a while, occasionally take one of these amazing ideas that we think we have and developing them to their fullest, and remembering that we are the instrument. Each of you are your own instrument. Musically, we are each our own instrument of change. We are each our own instrument for success. That we can take those 4 lessons and as rhythmicists, use those to together become more extraordinary. Thank you.